Admiral Reina Martinez stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station Beta, her weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as she stared at the unusual readings on her quantum display. After 30 years in Space Command, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. "Admiral, we're getting similar readings from all 8 deep space monitoring stations." Lieutenant Kai Patel's voice crackled through the comm. "The signal patterns they're unlike anything in our database." The year was 2157, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt. They'd learned to harness fusion power, developed quantum computing, and mastered limited artificial gravity. But they had never found intelligent alien life. Until now. "Run it through the new quantum decoder again," Reina ordered, her fingers drumming against the titanium rail. The signal had first appeared 72 hours ago, growing stronger with each passing hour. It wasn't random space noise or electromagnetic interference. It was structured, purposeful, and heading straight for Earth. Director Nikolai Volkov's hologram materialized beside her, his usually composed face showing signs of stress. "The Security Council is convening an emergency session. The Chinese have already moved their orbital defense platforms into attack positions. Tell them to stand down." Reina snapped. "We don't know if this is hostile. The last thing we need is to start an interstellar war because someone got trigger-happy." The debate proved pointless. Within hours, the source of the signals revealed itself. They emerged from the Kuiper Belt. Massive ships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Nexus Armada, as they would later be known, arrived with no declaration of war, no demands, and no mercy. The first attack came without warning. The mining colony on Ceres disappeared in a flash of exotic energy, taking 12,000 lives with it. The quantum communications network lit up with distress signals from across the solar system, but Earth's military forces were scattered, unprepared for a coordinated assault of this magnitude. "All stations, this is Admiral Martinez. Implement Emergency Protocol Omega. This is not a drill." Her voice remained steady, even as she watched the alien vessels methodically destroying humanity's outer system infrastructure. "All civilian vessels are to immediately proceed to the nearest hardened shelter. All military assets converge on defensive positions as per the Thermopylae Protocol." Earth's combined fleet of 300 ships, the pride of human engineering, looked pitiful against the vast armada approaching from the outer system. But humanity had one advantage. They were fighting for their home, for their very survival. "They're targeting our quantum communication relays," Kai reported, his dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They're trying to blind us." Reina's mind raced through scenarios, calculating odds, looking for any advantage. The aliens' technology was clearly superior, but their tactics, there was something almost predictable about them. They were methodical to a fault, following textbook military doctrine. "Lieutenant, get me a secure channel to all fleet commanders." She straightened her uniform, a plan forming. "They may have better ships, but they're fighting like machines, and machines can be outmaneuvered." The next 12 hours became known as the Long Night in human history. The combined Earth fleet executed a series of seemingly chaotic maneuvers, appearing to panic and scatter before the alien advance. The Nexus forces, true to form, split their forces to pursue, seeking to methodically eliminate all resistance. It was exactly what Reina had hoped for. Now, her command triggered a coordinated ambush from hiding positions in the asteroid belt. Human ships emerged from the shadows of asteroids and the cover of debris fields, concentrating their fire on isolated enemy vessels. The resulting battles were fierce and costly, but for the first time, humanity managed to destroy several alien ships. The victory was short-lived. The Nexus Armada regrouped with frightening efficiency, adapting their tactics. Their counterattack was devastating, pushing human forces back to Mars orbit. The red planet's defense grid held briefly before succumbing to the overwhelming firepower. As Reyna watched the massive alien fleet approaching the Earth-Moon system, she knew this was just the beginning. The first battle was lost, but humanity had learned valuable lessons. They had proven the aliens weren't invincible. Now they needed to survive long enough to use that knowledge. "Send word to Earth," she commanded, her voice heavy with the weight of what was to come. "Tell them to activate the Prometheus protocol. We're going to need every advantage we can get." The message was sent just as the first alien ships entered lunar orbit. Humanity's greatest challenge had arrived, and their solar system had become the battleground for survival. The real war was about to begin. The underground bunker beneath the Himalayas buzzed with frantic energy as the world's brightest minds raced against time. 6 months had passed since first contact, and Earth's situation grew more desperate by the day. The Nexus Armada held position around Luna, their ships forming an ominous web of destruction above humanity's homeworld. Dr. Yuki Tanaka wiped sweat from her brow as she studied the holographic display of their latest prototype. The captured alien technology pulsed with an eerie purple glow, its crystalline structure defying conventional physics. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, she had been tasked with understanding and replicating the enemy's shield technology. "The energy matrix is stable," her colleague Dr. Hassan Ibrahim announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "But we're still only achieving 40% of their theoretical output." The remnants of humanity's space fleet maintained a desperate defensive perimeter around Earth, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. The Nexus forces had already established bases on Mars and Venus, systematically stripping both planets of resources. Only the ingenious deployment of quantum mines in Earth's orbit kept them from launching a final assault. General James O'Connor, his uniform bearing the newly created United Earth Defense Force insignia, entered the laboratory. "Please tell me you have something, Doctor. Our last defense satellite network is failing." Yuki straightened, gesturing to the complex equations floating in the air. "We've made a breakthrough. The alien shields don't just deflect energy. They absorb and redirect it. But there's a pattern to the wavelength distribution, if we can match it precisely." "In English, Doctor," the general interrupted. "We can turn their own weapons against them," Hassan explained. "Create a cascading feedback loop that grows stronger with each attack. The more powerful their weapons, the more powerful our defense becomes." The concept was revolutionary, but the engineering challenges were immense. They would need to create a planetary-scale network of quantum resonators, all perfectly synchronized. One miscalculation could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. The next 3 months saw the largest coordinated engineering project in human history. Every nation, every resource, every capable mind was devoted to the Solar Shield Initiative. Former enemies worked side by side, united by the specter of extinction. Factories worldwide were converted to produce the specialized quantum crystals needed for the resonator network. Underground in the Australian outback, Commander Zara Wong supervised the training of shield operators. The neural interface required split-second timing and absolute concentration. A single lapse could create a weak point in Earth's defenses. "Again," she ordered, watching as her team synchronized their thoughts with the quantum field generators. "The enemy won't give us second chances." The Nexus forces didn't remain idle. Their prodding attacks grew more frequent, testing Earth's conventional defenses. Each assault provided valuable data for Yuki's team, helping them fine-tune the resonator frequencies. But the attacks also cost precious lives and resources. Admiral Martinez, now coordinating Earth's space defense from a hidden facility in the Andes, knew they were running out of time. The enemy's pattern recognition algorithms would eventually detect the shield network under construction. They had to be ready before that happened. The turning point came during a massive assault on the Asian defense sector. A Nexus battle group struck without warning, their energy weapons lighting up the sky over the Pacific. The conventional shields failed within minutes, but this time, something was different. As the alien weapons struck the quantum resonator field, The energy didn't dissipate, it transformed. Beautiful, terrible auroras of redirected power danced across the atmosphere. The more the enemy fired, the stronger the shield became. It's working. Yuki's voice cracked with emotion as she watched the data streams. The feedback loop is stable. Energy absorption at 200% and climbing. The Nexus ships, their artificial intelligence apparently confused by this unprecedented defense, continued their attack. Each blast strengthened Earth's shields until the entire planet glowed with accumulated energy. In orbit, human ships watched in awe as their homeworld became surrounded by a shimmering barrier of pure power. For the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered in humanity's heart. They had achieved what seemed impossible. They had found a way to stand against superior technology. The Solar Shield Initiative wasn't just a defensive measure. It was proof that humanity could adapt, innovate, and survive. But in the depths of space, the main body of the Nexus armada began to move. The real test of humanity's new defense was about to begin, and no one knew if it would be enough to withstand the full fury of an alien civilization intent on their destruction. General O'Connor stood in the command center, watching the enemy fleet's approach on the tactical display. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The shield is just the beginning. Now we show them why you should never corner a species that turned itself from prey to apex predator in record time." The future remained uncertain, but humanity had found its footing. The battle for Earth was about to enter its next phase, and this time, they were ready to fight back. The orbital shipyards above New Singapore hummed with activity as humanity prepared for its first major offensive. A year into the war, the quantum shield network had given Earth the breathing room it needed. Now, it was time to strike back. Commander Jackson Osei stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned UES Hyperion, humanity's first warship built with reverse-engineered alien technology. The vessel's sleek lines and dark hull plating represented thousands of hours of research, countless sacrifices, and humanity's unrelenting drive to survive. "Final system check complete," reported Lieutenant Indira Patel, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. "The hybrid drive is stable, and weapon systems are showing green across the board." The Hyperion was just one of 50 new ships constructed in secret, while the Nexus forces battered themselves against Earth's shields. Each vessel incorporated captured alien tech with human ingenuity, creating something entirely new and hopefully unexpected. "Message from Central Command," Indira announced. "Operation Thunderbolt is greenlit. All ships begin launch sequence." Jackson took his command chair, feeling the subtle vibration as the Hyperion's engines powered up. "Send acknowledgement. Battle Group Alpha is ready for Phase 1. The plan was audacious. While the Nexus Armada focused on Earth, humanity would strike at their supply lines and forward bases throughout the solar system. The quantum shields had shown that alien technology could be turned against itself. Now it was time to prove that principle on the offensive. The fleet emerged from Earth's shadow, their hybrid drives leaving no energy signature for enemy sensors to detect. They had learned that Nexus ships relied heavily on predictable energy patterns for target acquisition. By modulating their output randomly, human ships could effectively become ghosts. Their first target was the Nexus mining operation on Mercury. The aliens had converted nearly a quarter of the planet's surface into automated resource extraction facilities, feeding their war machine. "All ships, initiate quantum silence," Jackson ordered as they approached the innermost planet. "Weapon systems on standby. Remember your training." The attack began at precisely 300 Earth Standard Time. The Hyperion and its sister ships appeared simultaneously at predetermined points around Mercury, their new weapons already firing. Streams of focused quantum energy, the same type the aliens used but modulated to an unpredictable frequency, struck the automated defenses before they could respond. "Multiple direct hits," Indira reported, her voice tight with concentration. "Enemy response systems are confused by the energy signatures. They can't get a target lock." On the tactical display, Jackson watched as human ships executed their carefully planned dance of destruction. The Nexus relied heavily on predictable patterns and automated responses. By attacking in seemingly random ways while maintaining precise coordination, the human fleet threw their entire defense grid into chaos. Second wave. Commence mining facility strikes, he commanded. Keep them off balance. Don't let their AI adapt to any single attack pattern. The battle for Mercury lasted just under 6 hours. When it ended, humanity had its first major victory. The Nexus lost not only a crucial resource base, but also their aura of invincibility. The hybrid ships had proven themselves more than a match for alien automation. But the real value of the victory lay in the data they gathered. Every engagement, every response, every alien countermeasure was analyzed and transmitted back to Earth. Dr. Tanaka and her team would have a wealth of new information to refine their understanding of Nexus technology. As Battle Group Alpha secured Mercury, other fleets were already moving against targets throughout the solar system. The Nexus forces around Earth, committed to their siege, found their supply lines under attack from multiple directions. Message from Admiral Martinez, Indira announced. Phase 2 is authorized. We're to proceed to Venus staging point. Jackson studied the tactical plot, noting the positions of known enemy forces. The next phase would be far more challenging. They had surprised the Nexus once, but the alien eye would be adapting, learning. The element of surprise was gone. Send word to all ships, he ordered. Prepare for immediate departure. The real test begins now. The Hyperion's hybrid drive hummed to life, its quantum field distorting space in ways that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. As they accelerated toward Venus, Jackson reflected on how far humanity had come. They had taken alien technology and rather than simply copying it, they had transformed it into something new. Enemy ships detected moving to intercept, Indira reported. They've altered their formation patterns. The AI is definitely learning. Jackson smiled grimly. Good. So are we. All ships, prepare for combat maneuvers. Let's show them what humanity does best. Adapt and overcome. The battle for the solar system had truly begun, and humanity was no longer fighting just to survive. They were fighting to win, to prove that determination and creativity could triumph over superior technology and cold logic. As the first energy beams lit up the space between Venus and Mercury, Jackson gave the order that would begin the next phase of humanity's counteroffensive. The Nexus was about to learn why Homo sapiens had risen to dominate their homeworld, not through superior strength or speed, but through relentless innovation and the ability to turn any weakness into an advantage. The victory at Mercury had come at a price, as humanity pushed outward from Earth, reclaiming their solar system piece by piece. A more insidious threat emerged from within. Director Isabella Rossi of Earth Intelligence stood in her underground office beneath Rome, studying holographic reports of suspicious activities across multiple colonies and military installations. 3 major operations had failed in the past month, each time because the Nexus forces seemed to know exactly where and when to strike. Show me the quantum communication logs again, she commanded. The AI displayed a complex web of transmissions, highlighting unusual patterns. There. That signal degradation isn't random. Her worst fears were confirmed. Someone was leaking classified information to the enemy. But the method was unlike anything they'd seen before. The data suggested the Nexus had found a way to interface directly with human neural implants, turning their own people into unwitting transmitters. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Hyperion, Commander Jackson Osoi faced his own crisis. His ship's quantum sensors had detected anomalies in the behavior of certain crew members, subtle changes in brainwave patterns that matched theoretical models of alien influence. Lieutenant Patel, initiate Protocol Darkstar, he ordered quietly. Selective neural dampening fields, deck by deck. Let's see who reacts. The results were immediate and disturbing. 3 crew members collapsed immediately, their neural implants suddenly going dark. But more troubling were the 5 who showed no obvious reaction, but whose productivity dropped measurably, suggesting a more sophisticated level of infiltration. Back on Earth, Director Rossi coordinated with Dr. Tanaka's team to develop a solution. They had discovered that the Nexus wasn't just controlling humans. They were gradually rewriting neural pathways, creating sleeper agents who didn't even know they were compromised. The quantum resonance from our shield network, Dr. Tanaka explained, pointing to complex data streams. We can modify it to create a protective field around human minds, similar to how it defends against physical attacks. But before they could implement this defense, the Nexus launched their counterattack. It was devastating in its precision, striking exactly where Earth's defenses were weakest. Military bases, research facilities, and shield generator nodes came under simultaneous assault. They know everything, Admiral Martinez realized with horror. Every contingency, every fallback position. We've been compromised at the highest levels. The next 48 hours became a desperate race against time. While Earth's forces fought to repel the massive alien assault, Isabella's team worked frantically to identify and isolate compromised personnel. The challenge was enormous. They had to assume anyone with a neural implant was potentially compromised. Commander Osei found himself making impossible decisions. Lock down all neural network access, he ordered. We fly this ship manually if we have to. The Nexus pushed their advantage, their ships pressing against Earth's weakening shields, but they had underestimated human adaptability once again. Director Rossi, working with Dr. Tanaka, discovered that the alien neural interface had a critical weakness. It couldn't handle rapid emotional shifts. Emotion, Isabella realized. That's why they chose neural implants as their vector. They don't understand how to process human feelings, so they try to suppress them instead. They quickly developed a radical countermeasure, a quantum pulse that would stimulate extreme emotional responses in human minds. For unaffected individuals, it would be uncomfortable but manageable. For those under alien influence, the flood of uncontrollable emotions would break the Nexus connection. We're going to give everyone on Earth an artificial adrenaline rush, Dr. Tanaka warned. The psychological impact could be severe. Better than becoming puppet soldiers for the Nexus, Isabella responded grimly. The pulse was triggered just as the alien fleet began their final push toward Earth. The effect was chaos, but controlled chaos. Across the solar system, compromised individuals fell into temporary emotional overload, breaking the alien control network. At the same time, human forces, running on pure adrenaline and righteous fury, fought with unprecedented ferocity. Commander Osei, watching his crew fight through the emotional storm while maintaining their positions, felt a surge of pride. This is why they'll never truly understand us, he told Lieutenant Patel, who was wiping tears from her eyes while still manning her station. We're at our strongest when we embrace our emotions, not suppress them. As the pulse faded, humanity emerged stronger, more unified, and most importantly, free from alien influence. The Nexus fleet, their carefully coordinated attack disrupted by the loss of their neural network, fell into disarray. But the alien force was far from defeated. As Earth's defenders regrouped, preparing for the next phase of the war, everyone knew that the final battle would determine not just the fate of the solar system, but the future of human consciousness itself. From the command center deep beneath the Himalayas, Admiral Martinez watched as the largest fleet battle in human history unfolded. The final confrontation had begun. Earth's combined forces, now armed with hybrid technology and freed from alien infiltration, faced the full might of the Nexus armada. The quantum shield network pulsed with accumulated energy, its iridescent barrier protecting Earth while thousands of ships clashed in the space beyond. The Hyperion led the charge, Commander Osei coordinating with other fleet captains in a complex dance of attack and retreat that kept the alien AI constantly off balance. They're adapting faster than before, Dr. Tanaka reported, her hands flying over the quantum interface. The Nexus has integrated all their previous encounters with us into their combat algorithms. But humanity had one final card to play, a desperate gambit born from their deepest understanding of the enemy. Over the past year, they had learned that the Nexus wasn't truly a hive mind, but rather a vast network of quantum-linked artificial intelligences. Each ship contained a node of that network, all working in perfect harmony. Perfect, predictable harmony. Director Rossi's intelligence team had discovered a critical vulnerability. The Nexus AIs were so interdependent that they couldn't function without constant synchronization. Their strength was also their weakness. All ships, initiate Operation Chaos. Admiral Martinez commanded. Execute on my mark. Across the solar system, hidden quantum transmitters powered up. Based on Dr. Tanaka's research, they had developed a way to inject random emotional data directly into the Nexus network, not to control it, but to introduce an element their rigid systems couldn't process. Pure human irrationality. Commander Osi's voice crackled over the comm. Battle Group Alpha in position, ready to execute attack pattern Omega. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. Human ships would deliberately act against their own best interests, making moves so illogical that the enemy AI couldn't predict them. Meanwhile, the quantum transmitters would flood the Nexus network with the one thing it couldn't compute, the full spectrum of human emotional experience. Now, Martinez gave the order. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Human ships broke formation, executing maneuvers that defied both physics and logic. The Hyperion led a suicidal charge directly into the heart of the enemy fleet, while other vessels seemed to flee randomly, only to appear from unexpected vectors with weapons blazing. The quantum transmitters activated simultaneously, forcing the alien network to process everything from love to hatred, fear to courage, despair to hope. The entire range of human consciousness compressed into digital format and injected directly into their system. The Nexus fleet's perfect coordination began to break down. Ship after ship fell into confusion as their linked AI tried desperately to process the flood of incomprehensible data. Some vessels fired on their own allies, while others froze in space, their artificial minds overwhelmed by concepts they were never designed to handle. Their network is collapsing, Dr. Tanaka announced, watching the cascade of failures spread through the enemy fleet. The emotional overload is forcing a total system reset. But the Nexus had one final surprise. As their network collapsed, the alien ships initiated a suicide protocol, turning themselves into massive energy weapons. If they couldn't have the solar system, they would destroy it. They're going to overload their power cores, Commander Osi reported. The combined detonation could crack Earth's crust. Admiral Martinez made an instant decision. Redirect all power from the shield network. Don't block their energy. Absorb it. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she realized the implications. The quantum resonators weren't just for defense. They could contain and redirect the explosion. The next few minutes would be remembered for generations. As Nexus ships began to detonate in massive chains of energy, Earth's shield network transformed into humanity's greatest achievement. The quantum resonators absorbed the impossible amounts of power, channeling it through carefully designed pathways in space-time itself. When the light faded, the solar system had changed forever. The released energy, contained and redirected by human technology, had been converted into a new form of quantum field, one that would make interstellar travel possible and usher in a new age of human expansion. Commander Ose stood on the Hyperion's bridge, watching the field's beautiful auroras dance across space. In trying to destroy us, they gave us the stars. Humanity had not just survived, they had evolved. The war had forced them to innovate, to unite, to overcome their limitations. They had taken alien technology and transformed it into something uniquely human, powered by the very emotions their enemies couldn't understand. Admiral Martinez looked out at the transformed solar system, now secure, now human, now ready for the next chapter. Send word to all colonies and settlements, she ordered. The war is over. and humanity's real journey is about to begin. In the end, it wasn't superior technology that had saved humanity. It was their creativity, their adaptability, and most importantly, their emotional depth, the very things the Nexus had seen as weaknesses. They had proven that consciousness, in all its chaotic, beautiful complexity, was the greatest force in the universe. The solar system had indeed become their final battleground, not just for survival, but for the very nature of intelligence itself, and humanity had shown the galaxy that there was more than one path to the stars.